Hello and welcome to the Six Rivers Media Sports Huddle, Episode 7. A little more of a somber tone for us this week due to the effects of Hurricane Helene. Joining me, Jeff Birchfield, Andrew Smith. I'm sports editor J.D. Vaughn. We'll get to the high school football action in a minute. But first, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Lazy J Farms Old Fashioned Butcher Shop.
Lazy J Farms has been raising the finest cattle and all-natural pork for 3 generations on the family farm in Fall Branch. Their blonde Aquitaine herd offers a leaner, healthier, and more tasteful beef. And the butcher shop is local, farm to table, and 100% authentic. This is the way your grandfather shot for me, with steaks cut to order, quality assured, and ready to ship to your door. Open Thursday through Saturday on Bloomingdale Road in Kingsport. Come see us.
Well, folks, high school football kind of took a back seat this past week. Of the scheduled games, I would say about only half of them were actually played. Just a terrible weekend for so many people in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia and Western North Carolina as well. It just really puts things in perspective how precious life is, quite honestly. Jeff, Western North Carolina and Northeast Tennessee, especially in Unicoi County, got hit really hard by Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, that's been the county I've lived in for the last, 30-plus years. Grew up in Carter County. Both of those hit hard, but also parts of Washington County. I had a good friend there who lost his home, and all of them. We're thoughts and prayers are with all those, and especially those folks who've lost loved ones, in this storm. We definitely want to pass along our thoughts and prayers, and also encourage people to look at our Tennessee Press and Kingsport Times News website as far as, places where you can drop off food and supplies for those people in need.
Not to mention that content, any content related to Hurricane Helene is free. You do not have to be subscribed to read any such content for Hurricane Helene, and get the information that you need from Johnson City Press or any Six Rivers Media website, Kingsport Times News, Tomahawk, Herald and Tribune, or the Irwin Record for that matter, just so you know. And Andrew, Carter County, another place that got hit very hard, and I have to imagine that hit close to home for you. Being the Hampton native and the Hampton graduate that you are, seeing the damage at Hampton High School and the concession stand completely collapsed. Obviously you had heard about it, but going out there and taking the pictures for yourself and seeing this place you've known your entire life like that, I can only imagine what was going through your mind.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, really. I'm very blessed. My house, my family's okay. But less than a mile down the road from my house is Hampton High School, and it took a beating. You can see the images, you can read about it, but it doesn't fully sink in until you're walking that track, you're in the stands, you're looking at the rubble you're looking at a propane tank that's just laying on the track around the field. A lot of folks in Hampton, all across Carter County hurting. Do want to give a special shout out to my grandmother, Judy. She lost her apartment, got washed out. She lived right there by the high school. So, love you. I'm glad you're safe. But just as Hamptonites do, they're already working hard to try and rebuild and recover.
Yeah, sure. Speaking of Carter County, while we're at it, you did cover a game last night. Monday night, I should say. Elizabethton supposed to be homecoming against Sullivan East, but the game did get moved to Sullivan East. The Cyclones get the win, a conference win, just after this emotional week. So just take us through that game, Andrew.
Yeah, it was a night to remember, just for good and bad reasons. Obviously, the circumstances kind of being what they were, but it was very cool to see, before we even got to any football, just the Carter County and Sullivan County communities kind of coming together. They didn't charge any admission to get into the ball game, that they were accepting donations for Carter County relief efforts. And the game itself, I talked with Coach Witten after the game. He was like, we're just happy we were able to play. They came out and they played, Elizabethton played a very strong football game. jumped out to a 29-0 lead after the first quarter. Rhett Slagle, the quarterback for Elizabethton, had a very strong day on the ground and through the air, over 100 yards through the air, and then rushed for a pair of touchdowns. One in particular, it was 3rd and goal from the 6, and it was a design pass play, but Slagle got flushed out from the pocket, rolled out to his right, decided to make something happen, and just lowered the shoulder on a Sullivan East defender at the goal line for a score. So very, very strong day from Rhett Slagle and the entire Elizabethton running game. Also, the pass rush for the Cyclones really had themselves a day. Really made life hard for Peyton Lingerfelt. He had to take like 3 intentional grounding penalties. He had to take a few sacks. Like, he just could not get away from the Orange and Blacks pass rush. So it was a very strong game, very resilient effort given what this past week has been for Elizabethton and Carter County. So, yeah, big conference win for Elizabethton on Monday.
Speaking of conference wins, Jeff, on Saturday, big one for Science Hill. William Blount came in undefeated in the district, or the region, I should say, after beating West Ridge. So, this could have easily, this was a dangerous team for Science Hill to face, but Science Hill scores 41 points in the first half, gets the job done. Spencer Taylor throws for 280 yards, 3 touchdowns. So, Jeff, what can you say about just Science Hill and the balance they showed?
Well, I mean, the offense, I was at the game Saturday and just looked awesome, I mean, you had Spencer Taylor, and you were talking about had such a big passing day. A couple of his receivers, Stephen Famoyan and John Gutera, they both had huge games receiving for Science Hill. And then that Science Hill running attack, it's just continued to be strong with Aiden Perry and, Ian Mathis and the Lee Anderson and all those guys. So, they have like you're saying, the balance that they need to, but the 41 points in the first half, because William Blount was able to get a couple long touchdown throws, early in the game, but Science Hill's offense just playing so well, the game really still wasn't in question at all.
Another region game, literally the only game in Northeast Tennessee that happened as scheduled. Dobyns-Bennett Friday night goes to Morristown East. Honestly, the weather there was picture perfect for a fall night. Dobyns-Bennett gets the win 47-14. Just a big all-around night. Tegan Begley, after missing the past week, he comes back, cracks the century mark. Austin Sykes accounts for 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 passing. So Dobyns-Bennett, like Joey Christian told me just the other day, this Dobyns-Bennett's success this season was going to be based on the offensive line. The offensive line got a good push. Morristown East had to turn to their passing game. They did get a long touchdown pass against the Indians to make it 14-7 from Caleb Billings to Nick Doherty. But from there, Dobyns-Bennett just completely takes over the game, gets the push that it needs on the line of scrimmage, and gets the job done. And just with all the chaos that happened, and that was the one game in Northeast Tennessee that happened. Nothing northeast of that game happened on Friday night. So Dobyns-Bennett gets the win, and really with the only normal, quote unquote, Friday night. And I actually misspoke there. There was one other game played on Friday night in Northeast Tennessee, and that being Tri-Cities Christian at Providence Academy. Not 8-man football, 11-man football. Jeff, Tri-Cities Christian gets the win, and then on Saturday, Daniel Boone plays host to Campbell County, comes up a little bit short. On Monday night, you're at Dobyns-Bennett for a bizarre situation with Gate City and Union. Gate City, again, shows the fight, but they come up just short. What can you say about just those games, Tri-Cities Christian, Gate City, and Daniel Boone?
Well, all 3 of those games pretty similar as far as, like you were saying, in the first half, Tri-Cities Christian gets the lead, and then Providence comes back, and then Tri-Cities comes back and wins that game, very hard-fought game. And congratulations also Providence Academy on the opening of their brand-new football field there. So the place looks spectacular. They still have some work to do, obviously, with some lighting and things like that. But, still it looked good overall. And then Saturday at noon at Daniel Boone, they fell behind early to Campbell County. It looked like maybe the Blazers were in, danger of truly getting blown out, and then they come back, and Cole Stevenson has a really big passing game through 18 of 28 for 204 yards. So able to get a couple of touchdowns. Quinlan Hell, he had a touchdown catch, also had a pick six they ran back, that got Daniel Boone in the game. But then when they did that, Campbell County answered, and that game really was very, very similar to what we saw last night with Union and Gate City. Union jumps out to an early lead and does sort of the same thing, and then Gate City comes back. Quarterback Zane Reed makes a couple of huge throws, and Caden Housewright, is able to come up with some one-on-one plays there and ends up getting like a 77-yard touchdown, 22-yard touchdown. But to go a little further in detail what you're talking about, the game, the bizarre thing, the game was originally scheduled, of course, Friday night, been rescheduled a couple times, and then last night they were supposed to play at Gate City, so we all show up at the field at Gate City, then the power goes out in Scott County. So thankfully, they call Frankie DeBusk, the athletic director, Dobyns-Bennett. Dobyns-Bennett very gracious in letting the teams, use their facilities and all that. And so they were able to get the game in. Everybody packed up, drove on down to Kingsport. And then so, they're able to play the game. And also the, union coach was telling me beyond, the other problems they had no lights in their locker room yesterday, so the fire department had to come and actually provide lights for them. But it just shows how our communities are all so good to work together, for the common good.
Sure. And what a game for Cam Bostic of Union as well. Wide receiver turned quarterback. Union jumps out to a 20-0 lead, holds on and gets the win 28-19. And speaking of Southwest Virginia, couple of games there. Andrew in the Cumberland district, Twin Springs, of course, hosting Cumberland Gap on Saturday, gets the win 24-6. Rye Cove goes on the road to Castlewood, a district game, gets the win 55-14. And I'm going to venture a guess here that Landon Lane had something to do with that game.
Yeah. Landon Lane certainly played a factor in a very easy, or relatively easy win for Rye Cove, 55-14. Lane had 248 total yards and 5 total touchdowns. I think that is playing a part in the win, if I'd say so myself. But yeah, just a very strong game from him and the entire Eagles offense. Will Rollins and Cole Williams also had touchdowns for Rye Cove. After the game, Gary Collier was just very pleased with just how resilient his team was given the circumstances that obviously all of us have had to face here the past few days. And meanwhile, Twin Springs, they get that home win against Cumberland Gap, 24-6. A lot of new names for the Titans due to injury. Bryce Parks, 135 yards on the ground. Also had 7 tackles on the defensive side of the ball.
A freshman, no less.
Freshman. Young guys having to step up due to injury for the Titans, and Keith Warner, and he's just like Gary Collier was very proud of the way his team was able to respond, because obviously you mix injuries with the weather situation, certainly not an easy situation for Twin Springs to be in, but they're able to get the non-conference win against Cumberland Gap. So a strong weekend for the Scott County teams.
Yeah, Twin Springs, Keith Warner even told me he had 3 guys miss Saturday's game due to damage from the storm. And even Coach Gary Collier had followed up and said a lot of his team was without power, and even he himself was without power as of Saturday. So just a tough situation all around. But my gosh, just communities, teams coming together, that's what Week 6 had. And we'll take a look at Week 7 coming up here in just a minute. Hopefully we can get back to at least somewhat a sense of normalcy. But we'll take a look at Week 7 right after this.
The Lazy J Farms Tailgate Box offers great value all season long. Get 40 pounds of meat for only $116. That's 5 pounds of beef patties and 3 pounds of chicken breasts, 1 pound of thick cut bacon, 3 packs of premium beef hot dogs and 2 packs of Chicago dogs, and 4 pounds of thick cut pork chops, all for $116 at Lazy J Farms Butcher Shop in Kingsport. Visit us online at lazyjbeef.com.
All right, so let's take a look at Week 7 coming up. Our Six Rivers Media Game of the Week. It's something that Joey Christian has described to me before as, quote, like a playoff game. Dobyns-Bennett, Class 6A, and Elizabethton, Class 4A. As of the time of this recording, it's set for 7:30 Friday night at Citizens Bank Stadium in Elizabethton. But check the Johnson City Press and Kingsport Times News websites and our social media accounts to know if that has changed. Just Joey Christian, again, he said like a playoff game, and just with how balanced Elizabethton is, and this is the atmosphere at Elizabethton. It's what a football atmosphere should be, and here's what he had to say about the Cyclones.
Checking in with the kids, see if anybody, had lost anything. I mean, as of now, none of our players or their family had, devastation loss. There certainly has been some trees through some carports and some things like that, but, you certainly worry about that a whole lot more. I mean, high school football just ain't that dang important when you get right down to the gist of it. But, and just, thoughts and prayers go out to all the people who's affected, regionally, but, especially locally as well. But it's a playoff team, just what a formidable opponent they are. They would be very similar to somebody that you're going to see, or skill-wise and talent-wise, very similar to somebody that you're going to see game 11. So that's why it's like a playoff game, and you go over there, you're in that hostile environment. I know that that stadium gets right and everything. They have such a great home field crowd, hometown. It's the only show in town right there. It's right on the main drag. It's just it's the way that high school football is supposed to be. So that makes it that playoff feel. And you can kind of measure yourself and see if you're prepared or not for the playoffs on how you do in this game.
Now, with Elizabethton High School serving as a local shelter, this has naturally been a whirlwind of a week for Cyclones coach Sean Witten. And with them just playing a game on Monday, trying to turn around and play this game. So just a crazy week for the Cyclones. So a big game between Dobyns-Bennett and Elizabethton, and then another big game in Region 1-6A, a conference game. West Ridge fighting for its life, Science Hill fighting for a conference championship. Jeff, what can you say about the Hilltoppers and the Wolves this week?
Well, the Hilltoppers obviously been on a roll this week. We were talking before the season with Stacy Carter and said, they could have a good team and really come out of the gate 1-4, 2-3. And in all honesty, they were 3 seconds from being undefeated. Almost beat Maryville. Impressive with wins over Elizabethton and Jefferson County. So going to be an uphill fight for the Wolves for sure. Talk Spencer Taylor, Player of the Week. As we've talked before, Baylor Necessary, we could name him Player of the Week every week. Because he's just been such a force on both sides of the ball. I think he had 2 carries, 55 yards, and plus, he was like defensively, just kept on doing what he's doing, piling up those tackles. For Westridge, I know Trey Frazier, everything starts with him, the quarterback, and then they've got the big tight end, Trent Tatum, who's another star player, and then Ethan Amix is, running back. That, some guys for, that Westridge offense that Science Hill's got to, be concerned about. And then on the defensive side, I know Sam Perry and some of those guys are, probably guys that can challenge that Science Hill offense at times.
So a big game, Jeff, between Science Hill and West Ridge. Then a Region 1 5A game between two teams literally fighting for their lives at this point. Cott County goes to Daniel Boone. David Crockett, of course, going to volunteer for a non-conference game. But what can you tell us about these two battles between Cott County, Daniel Boone, and David Crockett Volunteer?
Yeah, Cott County, another area affected by storm. So it'd be very interesting to see how they respond this coming weekend against Boone. I mentioned Boone fighting for their lives, still searching for their first win, but Cole Stevenson showed a lot of really good things this past week. Hopefully for the Blazers, he's going to be able to build on that. May get a little bit extra support in the running game as well. Obviously, Coach Jenkins really loves to emphasize the lines of scrimmage both on offense and on defense. Certainly will continue to be the case against Cott County this weekend. And then Crockett stepping out of conference against Volunteer. Volunteer had that no contest against Greenville this past week. So it'll be very interesting to see how they come out. Another team still searching for their first win. But talking with folks up there with the Falcons, they feel they are very close. So this will certainly not be a cakewalk for Hayden Chanley and Crockett. But, we've kind of talked about them all year long. You're going to lean on your sophomores of A.J. Wynn, at quarterback specifically. Allow him to just be an athlete. He can run it. He can throw it. He'll be a big piece of the puzzle for the Pioneers on the road up in Churchill.
Yeah. Speaking of big pieces on the road, of course, Cherokee quarterback Landon Jeffers, he will lead the Chiefs at Granger this week. Both of those teams 1-2 in Region 1 4A, so this game could potentially have playoff ramifications. Greenville coming off a no contest, heading up to Sullivan East. Tennessee High at Gate City, that game has been pushed back. As of the time of this recording, it is now Saturday night at 7 o'clock, so one more day of rest for Gate City after playing that Monday night game, of course. A couple of big games in Region 1 3A. Unicoi County goes to Gatlinburg-Pittman. Gatlinburg-Pittman, just outside the top 10. Unicoi County, of course, ranked 5th. And, of course, the Blue Devils with heavy hearts in this game, playing at Gatlinburg-Pittman, which has indicated they are taking donations for admission. And Gatlinburg is a city that knows all about just natural disasters, having undergone the wildfires in 2016. So Gatlinburg kind of returning the favor in this time for Unicoi County. And the other big Region 1 3A battle, a battle of top 10 teams. Johnson County, number 8, undefeated, goes to 10th ranked Pigeon Forge. Pigeon Forge needs this game if they want to stay in the conference title race. So a big one for Johnson County. Just big games all around in Region 1 3A. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone here, Jeff and Andrew, when I say that we wish all of you well, that this weekend kind of put things in perspective for us and what really matters in life. So we wish you all a speedy recovery. We wish everyone well, and we hope for a sense of normalcy soon. Take care.
Lazy J Farms has been raising the finest cattle and all-natural pork for 3 generations on the family farm in Fall Branch. Their blonde Aquitaine herd offers a leaner, healthier, and more tasteful beef. And the butcher shop is local, farm to table, and 100% authentic. This is the way your grandfather shopped for me, with steaks cut to order, quality assured, and ready to ship to your door. Open Thursday through Saturday on Bloomingdale Road in Kingsport. Come see us.